something in the contract that speaks to that. And I may be wrong, but that's certainly my general recollection.
So, but has all the money that was ever put into, actually, so when did Dean Powers become President Powers?
I think it was in 2006, 2007.
Okay, so after all this money was put in the deferral account.
Right.
The other thing it says in here is that he was credited deferral account not until distribution of deferral account until his retirement date, but some was paid early, right?
Again, if that's what the contract read, I just don't remember.
Okay, well, the report's saying that some of the money was paid early. Is there money still in the account for President Powers?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to go back and check.
All right. Well, that's certainly something that I would want to know and understand, and actually is really, really important for you, because it also appears to me that this deferred compensation was to be when he retired, and it also appears to me that some of it was paid early, right? So that according to the AG's report, he spent $141,292 on December 14th, 2005. Entitled to it under the first agreement in order to, quote, alleviate the burden of having to shoulder a tax liability for undistributed vested amounts. Whatever that, I'm not sure exactly. Do you know what that means? Okay.
Not this time.
All right. So, and the reason that that's important is because of your legal contracts with the University of Texas, your firm's contracts. So can you just, and I think I know this, but just, by the way, your legal resume is remarkable. I mean, when I read it, I gasped. I mean, it's very impressive. You have a distinguished career in law, and it's awesome. And I'm very grateful that someone of your caliber is willing to take the time to serve on the board of Regents. And you've been a terrific son of the University of Texas. Your service on law school foundation board is terrific. You've really raised a lot of money, contributed a lot, put your time, your effort, your energy into this institution. Your love for it is abundantly clear to me, and I think anybody that would care to look at your record. So, in understanding, can you just describe your firm, when it started, kind of your legal career?
Sure. I graduated from the University of Texas Law School in 1965. I ended up at Fulbright Jaworski, Leon Jaworski's firm in 1965, and practiced there for 25 years. Was a senior partner. And in 1992, after Colonel Jaworski had passed away, and others who were close to have passed away, I decided to start my own law firm. Our firm has been in existence now for 23 years. We started with 5 of us, 2 partners and 3 associates. Actually, 3 partners and 2 associates. And we now have approximately 50 lawyers. All we do is litigation work, primarily on the defense side. We usually end up defending companies and firms and institutions. We've been fortunate over the years to represent some very nice clients and work with our clients.
No, and you have, again, a terrific track record as an attorney. You're clearly a very distinguished attorney in our state. And then can you talk about your contracts, your firm's contracts with the University of Texas system and its subsets?
We have represented either the system or the University of Texas itself over a number of years. And Senator Taylor, I know you have a list of those matters. I think they begin in 2005, perhaps, representation of the system. And every representation is different. Most of the time, I'll get a call from somebody with the legal department at the university asking if I'll represent the university in a certain manner, usually Patty Olendorf. And the system, Barry Bergdorf was the general counsel, and I know there were times that Barry Bergdorf would call. And then one of my partners, Alistair Dawson, was represented at UTMB in a number of matters. And I'm frankly not sure who called him. So that's the way, and every representation is different. Every representation, you have to sign a contract basically with the University of Texas. And so what I would say is that in our representation at the University of Texas, we always did it in a very deeply discounted hourly rate. We didn't charge our normal hourly rates.
What's your normal hourly rate?
I have to say on the record.
I don't want you having to do something, reveal something that's proprietary.
Well,
So I want to make sure that we're respecting your private property right to your charge rate.
Well, then I guess
competitive.
I guess the reason I'm asking, because what is public
Withdraw
record?
the question, right?
Well, sure, but I'll follow it up this way.
Okay,
So
all
what
right.
is public record is the hourly rate that you did charge
That's fine. Yeah,
of
no, that's fine.
$525 an
That's
hour,
okay.
which to this person seems like a lot, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure my phone calls to you would be really fast if you were my turn. But I mean, so you're saying that you charge substantially more than $525 an hour?
Yes.
Okay. Please continue. I interrupted you.
I forgot the question.
You were describing your
Oh, describing the various contracts. And I think that's basically it, Senator. You know, everyone is different, and you have to sign a contract. And then whenever, and we bill on a monthly basis, and so our bills go, I guess, first to the university, or if it's a system matter, to the system. They look at it, you know, they either approve or disapprove. There may be an item that they think is on there erroneously, and we knock it off, or they might question something, then it goes to the AG's office, and then the Attorney General looks at it, and they may say, well, we're not paying the cab fare from here to here, you should have done something different, and that's just the way it works.
Were these legal contracts, you know, going back to the contracting question, were they bid out?
I don't
Were you
know.
called and asked, hey, we're thinking of 3 firms, what's your proposal, you know, or did they just say, hey, you got the job, this is what we
I
need to do?
honestly don't recall that ever happening. I don't know what, if I haven't said that, I don't know what process the university or the system followed before they called. I don't know if they talked to other law firms ahead of ours and decided on us. I don't know. Because we represented them before, so they knew about us.
Sure.
And they knew our capability. And whether they were talking to other law firms or not, I don't know. I know they hired other law firms. But I don't know what the process was internally at the UT or the system.
Okay, and then, I guess this probably gets, you may or may not know the answer to this, feel free to say, I don't know if you don't know. And so what was President Power's position in the decision to hire you as a firm?
To my knowledge, he had no input, because my call, as I said, if it's a university, it usually came from Patty Olenberg, and I don't know what conversation she may have had with anybody. The one exception to that, Senator, probably occurred when Bill Powers was dean of the law school, because it was a matter that came up at the law school. And I frankly don't remember whether I got a call directly from him or not.
Well, and so I think I heard you say earlier this morning that your firm would no longer represent your firm would quit all contracts with the University of Texas system or UTMB or UT Austin. Did you say that? Or
I did.
You did say that. Okay. So I guess that was news to me because I received a letter that
2 days ago.
right 2 days ago where you quit one case, but it was unclear to me what would transpire with the case. And I believe it's Alistair, your partner,
Right.
is on the UTMB case. And so I just so when was that decision made, and why are we finding out about it this morning?
Okay, let me try to explain the history. When the governor first talked to me about becoming a Regent nominee, one of the issues raised was, well, now, how can you represent the university or the system if you're confirmed? And it was pretty clear that the decision was that I could not quit my firm. I sent the letter the other night, or not the other night, the other day, to Patty Olenberg about the 2 matters that I am personally involved in. And just for those other members of the committee, it was a letter to Ms. Olenberg telling her that I was withdrawing effective immediately from those matters. There are other matters called, what I'm going to call collectively the UTMB matters, which my partner, Alistair Dawson, is the lead counsel. I don't know anything about those cases. UTMB was contacted, much as I contacted Ms. Odendorf, and told in all likelihood we were going to have to withdraw. There's a little bit of pushback from UTMB saying, well, you know, when we kind of invested in you, you're knowledgeable about these matters, and you know, we really hate to lose you. We don't want to lose you. And so that's when there started to be communications with Dan Sharphorn, who's the general counsel of the system, about how we basically end up withdrawing. So there was a delay there. Otherwise, everything would have been in that letter. But there was communication going on, as I understand it, between Alistair, UTMB, and the general counsel of the system. But let me make clear that there will be no representation if I'm confirmed.
Okay, I mean, because when I spoke to Patty Ellendorf yesterday at 5:30, she said it's unclear to me what will transpire with the UTMB case, but you seem to have a very clear idea of what will transpire.
Yes, because she's not involved in those discussions.
Okay, all right.
And she's the university, and then we're dealing with somebody else, Mr. Dan Sharphorn of the system.
Okay. And she had also indicated, and I think this is important, particularly for the record, that the President Powers is part of that process. It's not a direct, hey boss, this is who I'm going to hire. Are you okay with that? But there is, but at times she has discussed, you know, what firm she would hire. And I mean, I find it interesting that it's effectively a no-bid contract. I'm not sure I have too much heartburn with how the University of Texas is doing that. But at the same time, I think it's important for the members of the committee to understand that the president of UT Austin is part of the decision-making process for which attorneys they will hire. Senator Watson.
Mr. Chairman, I might be helpful.
Sure, absolutely.
An exception.
Senator Watson, you recognized?
I think I'm right when I said there's an exception to the law about contracts for professional services. It's been a long-standing exception that legal services, that a governmental entity may hire a law firm or hire legal services as an exception to the bid requirements. And that's it's a matter of long-standing. So it would not surprise me, based on what I think I know about the law, if a law firm of some strong reputation in the nation and someone is known well by those who need to make decisions, and even at a rate that seems a little high to you, but is a discount, is willing to do that work for a discounted rate and get the value, and the university will be able to obtain that value, that those decisions will be made that way. It would not be a violation, as I understand the law, of any law, for there to be a no bid under those circumstances. That is an exception to the law so that we make sure our governmental entities get high quality. The truth is, you probably don't want to hire the cheapest lawyer.
Let me just add one thing, if I may, Senator Watt. Did that mean that you were on retainer by the university, or was it, as a question came up, each question was essentially its own contract?
The latter, Senator, we were not on retainer from the University of Texas or the system.
And let me ask Senator Watson his knowledge of the law here is recognizing, because I think I knew what you, just a few days ago I learned what you just shared. Is it inherent upon a university to contract with a retainer, or there's no?
I would say that there are things that you might want to hire Mr. Beck or one of his partners for, but you might want to hire somebody else for whatever reason, including the necessity of that talent may not be as great on something else, so you might actually hire somebody that will charge you less, or it may not be an area of expertise for them. So there's no need to have somebody on retainer. My guess is that they have and I don't know this, but my guess is that they have a number of law firms that they look to. It also might be that there may be some instance where they don't have the capacity at a given point in time, so they would look
And then it would be the duty of the law firm to ensure that any conflict of interest were resolved. It is not on the, it's not on the university to know that.
That is the obligation of the lawyer, and you would want to run conflict checks to make sure that there not be any situation where you might have a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Senator Watson. You have the floor, Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess, to wit, maybe to kind of flesh this out for the audience, if you look at the case that went to California, the Warhol case, and I think the state paid almost $2 million to your firm, but a lot of that money actually went to a California firm, right?
Well, that sum included not only a substantial amount went to a California firm, but also expenses. So
Right.
that's not all fees, as I understand it.
Okay, but in other words, it doesn't necessarily all go to your firm. In that case, you hired local counsel in California for that case, correct?
That is correct. In fact, we've had to terminate one of our local counsel because their fees in our view were too high. So we replaced that.
Was the local counsel under the same restrictions as your firm in terms of the hourly rates? Because I see in the documentation that the restriction of hourly. Okay.
Yes, they are.
And then is it? I think I've got this right. I just want to make sure I'm correct. That your firm is working with the Ethics Commission, but they're doing that for $100 an hour. Is that right? Okay. Is that not? That's not you. That's one of your partner. Okay. And then I assume clearly you have a terrific law firm. I won't beg to ask that question. But I mean, so the case that you just stepped down from on Tuesday, the state had spent almost $250,000. Clearly, you sir have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of capability that is the result of having, and the state has invested in your ability to know and understand this case. And I mean, isn't losing you something of a loss to the state?
Well, I mean, I guess that's for the client to decide whether they feel like they're losing something that they can't replace. That litigation, there are two cases, and they're linked. It's the same plaintiff in both cases.
Right, sure.
One's in the trial court, one's in the appellate court. And in that case, it's at a very early stage. We've had motions to dismiss. We've had arguments in the trial court. We've had one deposition taken in the case, which is under protective order, and then we have an appeal. So it's still a very early stage. We haven't even taken the plaintiff's deposition yet in the case. There are other depositions that the plaintiff says that they want. None of those depositions have been taken. So it's at a very early stage. So at least in my view, and I think in discussing it with the client, they believe that they can get counsel to represent them and the transition will be seamless. As I said, the litigation is stayed. Nothing's been going on for the last few months, and I don't anticipate anything happening in the next couple of months, frankly.
And I realize I'm asking about litigation that's ongoing, so it's something somewhat touchy. I appreciate your forthrightness in describing that. So okay, so you've had a relatively long relationship with the University of Texas where you served in your legal capacity doing work on behalf of the University of Texas system, University of Texas Austin, and then your partner for UTMB. Is that correct? Is that fair? Okay. So, but at the same time, okay, so that's over here at the Law School Foundation, you're overseeing this deferred compensation program for President Powers, right?
I'm not sure I'm overseeing any compensation program. The contract, if that's what you're referring to,
Right.
I think that's handled through the university, not through the Law School Foundation.
No, I'm talking about okay, so go back earlier, we were talking about the plan that was executed in 2001. I'm trying to talk about.
You talk about President Powers' compensation program.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that compensation, and I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is you've got $450,000 sitting in a bank account, only which $141,000 was paid out, and it was paid out early, right? And I assume that was you had something to do with the decision to pay it out early.
Well, yes, I mean, basically, I signed the contract, I think, the amendment to the contract. I think that I signed it.
Okay.
But again, that's not administered by the law school, it's administered by the university.
What?
It's administered by the university. His compensation contract is administered by the university.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So okay, this is actually very helpful, very important. So what you're saying is that the deferral account was actually at the University of Texas Law School. It left the foundation and goes over to the law school. Is that what you're saying?
Let me be clear.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that once the contract was executed, approved by the university, President Faulkner, Provo, and whoever else had to approve it, then the University of Texas administers that because they're dealing directly with the compensation. I think what you're asking, has the money for each of the payments been turned over to the university? And I don't know the answer to that question. It may be that the money is still in the foundation's coffers and are awaiting the request by the foundation, the university or whoever, that the payment be made. So I don't know where the money is today, whether it's already been paid to the university and they're holding it, or whether or not it's still with the foundation and we're waiting a request to pay.
Let me read a sentence from the AG's report, and this might help us. So Kenneth Roberts authorized Kimberly Breyer to pay an additional $115,000 to Dean Powers.
Okay.
So who are those people?
Well, Kimberly Breyer actually wore two hats. She was part of the University of Texas, the law school staff, and she also did work for the foundation. We compensated the law school for whatever time she spent on foundation matters. But I would imagine that in that capacity, she was acting on behalf of the foundation.
Who's Kenneth Roberts?
Ken Roberts was the president of the foundation, I think, at that time.
Okay, so I mean, the fact that you have the president of the foundation authorizing someone who spends a lot of time working at the foundation to distribute money would...
All right, that's clearly the foundation money. The president of the foundation is
Right.
authorizing her to send the money.
Okay, and so I guess what I'm saying is that money, there's some subjectivity, right? It's been, in other words, it was supposed to be when he retired, is when he's supposed to get the money, at least is the way I read the AG's report.
Whatever the contract says.
And I don't have it, you don't remember it, but my point is, the money was supposed to be when he retired.
Okay.
And clearly, money was accelerated to him. And I'm suggesting that I'm asking, did you have any role in the decisions to accelerate the compensation to him?
I didn't even know it was accelerated, frankly.
I thought you said you read this report.
I did, but I didn't. You're talking about, was I involved in the decision at the time?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Were you involved? So you weren't aware, but, I'm sorry, what did you listen to?
Senator, let me back up.
Sure.
You're asking me about things that happened a long time ago. And whatever is said in the report, I accept. I don't think there's any question about it. Ken Roberts was the president of the foundation. If he authorized Kimberly Breyer to send a check, then that's what was done. As far as accelerating the terms of the contract, I wasn't involved in that.
I'm sorry, and when did you step down as president again? I know you said that like 3 times.
2006.
2006. Okay, well this happened in 2005.
That did not happen in 2005. If Ken Roberts was involved, he was the president of the foundation, he succeeded me.
Okay, guess we'll have to get some documents. Let me shift off this and go to something else. It's and you've heard me.
By the way, let me just say,
Sure.
if there are any documents you don't think you have that you would like to see, if I've got them, I'll provide.
I appreciate that. We'll be asking the Attorney General to provide a document. They clearly use documents
Okay.
to provide this report. I'm assuming it's kind of fresh. They've got it. I'm asking for every document that's referred to in this report. That's an exhaustive request, but I just want to make sure I get all the data. And I just want to understand how the contract was structured. And clearly, what you're saying today and what's written down here, there's some conflicting dates. And anyway, we'll
I'm not giving you my best memory.
and I appreciate that, and I absolutely. Shifting, it is obviously important for all of us to have a harmonious board of regents. I think everybody here wants that and would like to see that. Can you speak to the Texas Coalition for Excellence in Higher Education? What is that? When did it start? What was your role? What is your role?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I guess my only role in the Texas Coalition was to write a check for $1,000 as a contribution to the coalition. The coalition, as I understand it, is a group of business and professional people and others whose primary interest is improving higher education in the state of Texas. And you've got UT graduates, you've got graduates of Texas A&M, you've got graduates of other universities like me that believe fervently that higher education is the key to many of the answers to many of the problems we have in the state of Texas. That's what my understanding of the mission of the coalition is.
And just so I think what I heard you say is, I wrote a check, I believe in the mission of this organization.
Right.
I mean, if you have not been active in meetings or discussions or, okay, so when this organization called for a regent in the University of Texas to resign, you had nothing to do with that statement?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And that's very helpful, I appreciate that. Because sometimes we associate ourselves with groups like the Republican Party, and they say things and kind of go, wait, hey, is that all of us? All right. I think it's been abundantly clear in this hearing that we on this dais believe the University of Texas system is here to serve the people of Texas. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Do you recognize the legislature as a proxy for the will of the people?
No question.
I mean, is there any other proxy?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I would submit the governor to some extent is the statewide elected proxy of the will of the people, but anyway, and that gives you...
Since I'm the governor's nominee, let me amend my answer to have the governor.
Looking out for you.
I'll accept that amendment because I use the governor too, so.
But I appreciate that sentiment. If you're asked to follow the law that you vehemently disagree with, will you follow the law, or will you break the law, or quit?
Quit.
Okay, thank you. I hope you're never in that
Always,
situation.
you got to follow the law.
That's true. Like, it's, what do you see as ways to cut costs at the University of Texas?
You know, that's a tough question, Senator, and I'm not sure knowing what I know now, I have enough information to ask, to answer the question. I think that the CEOs or commander-in-chief of the various institutions need to be made aware that cost cutting is very important because it has an effect on tuition, it has an effect on quality of education, and so and I think Regent Hicks said it right. I mean, there's got to be ways that you can save costs. And so that's something that I would certainly be very interested in pursuing.
And one thing that really hasn't come up so far, and it's hard to believe there's something that we haven't talked about yet, and that is faculty utilization.
Faculty orientation.
Utilization.
Utilization.
How many faculty members are teaching, how many are doing research, how many are doing nothing. And I think that's something I would certainly invite you to look at. The state spends an extraordinary amount of money. The state spends $5 billion a year on higher ed. It's certainly something we spend, and from a GR point of view, general revenue point of view, it's a big deal. But the faculty work is something, well, not as much the law school, but it's something that I would encourage you to look at. And the other thing I'd encourage you to look at, and we've talked about this quite a bit here already this morning, that is having students begin and not finish. And it's unfair, it's unfair to the student. I think we've gone into that, but it's also unfair to the taxpayer. Let's explain why. The taxpayer is subsidizing every semester. Right? They're putting in a piece, and if they put that in and the person doesn't graduate, that money, I don't want to say it was wasted, but it wasn't well used. And so I think it's incumbent on universities to try to make sure that bringing people that can graduate. I think it's about, you hear, there are a lot of schools that have really good graduation rates, and I think they pride themselves on that. And I'd like to see, it'd be great to have a university that has a great graduation rate.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that, Senator, and again, just to use my own experience, I mean, I went through college in 3 years, and left high school one day, started college the next Monday morning. So the idea that it takes 6 years for somebody to get out of college, raises questions in my mind. But I also know that one size doesn't fit all. And you may have some people that have serious economic problems, that can only take 9 hours a semester as opposed to 12. So if I were confirmed, one of the things I would want to know is why. Why is it people are taking 6 years or more to graduate? What's the reason for that? And once we know the reasons, then I think we can bring to bear answers to that. And I mean, Mr. Chair,